Hello and thanks for joining us for our mid-morning edition of Arirang News. I'm Mark Broom. Let's start by taking a look at the day's headlines. Slowly adapting back to normal life after a traumatic few days, more than 50 schools in South Korea's forest fire-affected Gangwon-do Province have reopened. Alarm bells ringing for the South Korean economy, the rate of rise in South Korea's household debt and its proportion to GDP are both the highest in a survey of over 30 major global economies. Plus, US President Donald Trump lashes out at the Mueller probe as the release of the special counsel's report edges ever closer. Our top story this morning, though, the 52 schools in South Korea's Gangwon-do Province, which were closed due to last week's massive forest fire in the region, have restarted their regular classes today. Authorities say they will speed up repairs and facility inspections of the schools affected by last week's blaze. Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
This is a middle school in Gangneung that was severely damaged by the recent forest fire that affected tens of thousands of people in the area. Melted roofs, burnt-out air conditioners, and blackened windows. It's clear it will take a while before everything is back to normal. Throughout Gangwon-do Province, 4 schools and 1 education center suffered over $1 million in damages alone. More than 90 students and faculty members were injured, and some have been left homeless. With authorities doing the best they can to get things back to normal, 52 schools in the Seokcho, Gangneung, and Donghae regions will be restarting classes on Monday. This includes kindergartens and elementary schools. However, students directly affected by the fire will be permitted to be absent for the time being.
Since everything is under control now, students shouldn't have any problems on Monday. Care services will also be operated as they were before.
The Ministry of Education says it will spare no effort restoring and inspecting all school facilities in the affected areas. In addition, it plans to prepare measures for students who lost their homes in the blaze. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, as a follow-up to that report, South Korea's finance chief has promised the victims of the wildfire in Gangwon-do Province that the government will take all possible means to swiftly help residents who lost their homes in the blaze. Speaking on Monday morning, Hong Nam-gi said the government help will reach the locals at an early date, referring to the designation of 5 cities and counties as special disaster zones over the weekend, which allows for the quick allocation of aid. Apart from the governmental support, a wave of volunteers have been pitching in to help. Dozens of actors, singers and other celebrities have donated money to help the cities and have encouraged others to help out in any way they can. In other news, South Korea's new ambassador to Beijing says China has a crucial role to play in the peace process and the final denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Speaking upon his arrival in the Chinese capital on Sunday, Jang Ha-sung emphasized China's role in the process and pledged to build closer Seoul-Beijing ties one step at a time. He said their relationship should act as the catalyst for peace on the peninsula. Jang is a former presidential policy chief and was named as the new ambassador just last month. Now, in the space of 2 years, the atmosphere here on the Korean peninsula has gone from one of conflict and the threat of war to cooperation and negotiations aimed at forging a lasting peace. South Korea and the United States have been key players in this remarkable turnaround, and the leaders of the allies are set to meet again this week in Washington, with the big meeting happening in the coming days. Our Kan Hyung-woo highlights what's being dubbed the road to peace.
Peacemaking efforts began in June 2017 at the first summit between Presidents Moon and Trump in Washington. They vowed to shore up their strong alliance and called on North Korea to join them at the table for denuclearization talks. Moon and Trump met again in November 2017 in Seoul, about 2 months after North Korea conducted its 6th nuclear test. While criticizing the regime's test, The two leaders reaffirmed their willingness to resolve the North nuclear programs through peace in principle, offering Kim Jong-un a brighter future should he choose the right path. The atmosphere on the peninsula turned around after the two Koreas marched together at the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics under the Korean unification flag, eventually leading to the first Moon-Kim summit in April 2018. Moon and Kim declared Seoul and Pyongyang would ease military tensions and work together to achieve the denuclearization of the peninsula. After North Korea invited international journalists to view the dismantlement of its Punggye-ri nuclear test site, the first ever meeting between a North Korean leader and a sitting U.S. president took place at the Kim-Trump Singapore summit in June 2018. In a joint statement, the two leaders agreed to the denuclearization of the peninsula, new peaceful relations, and security guarantees for the regime. Later that year, President Moon visited Pyongyang for a third summit with Chairman Kim in September. Titled Peace, a New Future, the summit resulted in a comprehensive inter-Korean military agreement, promises for inter-Korean cooperation, and conditions to denuclearize the North. After the two Koreas and the United States did not see much progress in denuclearization talks for the rest of 2018, Kim and Trump held their second summit in Hanoi in February 2019, only to confirm their differences, failing to leave Vietnam with a deal. Kang-young-woo, Arirang News.
Now, according to South Korea's state-run economic think tank, the country's sluggish economy may be slowing down even more due to waning demand and exports. Our Che Si-young has this report.
The Korea Development Institute says the country's economic slowdown is further deepening, according to its latest monthly report released Sunday. The think tank has repeatedly mentioned the slowdown over the past 5 months, but this is the first time it said the trend was worsening. But KDI made it clear that this doesn't necessarily indicate a more serious downturn. The slowdown has been attributed to decreasing exports and low domestic demand. Total exports in March dropped 8.2% on year, while retail sales growth in the months of January and February fell 3.2 percentage points compared to a year earlier. Declines in facilities investment and industrial production also compounded the slowdown. Facilities investment in February tumbled 27% on year, while mining production also fell by almost 3%, with construction down 11%. In the report, the Institute said the number of newly employed workers in February, numbering around 300,000 for the biggest increase in a year, is largely owed to the government's job creation efforts. KDI says the country's financial market is stable overall, but said the equity markets were down due to the sluggish global economy and other external factors. Che Si-young, Arirang News.
The floor leaders of South Korea's 5 biggest parties will meet in the coming hours to set the agenda for the April parliamentary session. They have a lot to work on, including reforms related to flexible working hours and the minimum wage. The government is also due to submit its supplementary budget proposal aimed at revitalising the economy and tackling fine dust pollution later this month. But the opposition has said it will not cooperate in legislative affairs should the president appoint his picks for the unification and SME ministers. The unification nominee has come under fire for his past remarks and views on North Korea, while the SME minister nominee was criticised for refusing to submit documents concerning ethical lapses. Now, Hanjin Group, which owns Korean Air, announced on this Monday that its chairman, Jo Yang-ho, has died. Jo's death comes only a week after he was removed from Korean Air's board of directors. Min-sun is on the line with more. So, Min-sun, what details can you tell us?
Hi, Mark. Hanjin Group just announced on Monday morning that its chairman Jo Yang-ho died on Sunday at the age of 70. Jo had been staying in the United States recently, and though details are still not known, he reportedly died in a hospital in Los Angeles from a chronic disease. Jo took over as chairman of Hanjin Group in 2003. He succeeded his father, who founded the group that owns the country's largest air carrier, Korean Air. Jo is considered as an expert in the aviation and transportation field, as he spent over 45 years in the sector after joining Korean Air in 1974. He also was deeply involved with the hosting of the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. However, Cho recently lost his board seat at Korean Air in a shareholders meeting last month. It was the first time that a founding family member of one of Korea's chaebol or conglomerates has been removed from a key position by shareholders. His family has been under investigation over multiple criminal charges, including assault, embezzlement, and smuggling luxury goods. That's all I have at this hour. Mark?
Now, in world news, U.S. President Donald Trump is continuing to lash out at Robert Mueller and his team as the full report that's expected to be heavily redacted is set to be released within days now. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Hong Yu, who's back from vacation. We're happy to say President Trump is not going any easier on Mueller, despite them finding that he didn't collude with any Russians in the lead up to the 2016 presidential election.
Right, Mark. Clearly, President Trump is not happy with the latest investigations and subpoena threats from his political opponents. He tweeted Saturday that the investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller was run by 13 angry Trump-hating Democrats who found no wrongdoing on his behalf after spending $30 million over the course of investigation. President Trump added that the 22-month-long probe was a total waste of time and the Democrats are illegally leaking information to the press while the fake news media make up their own stories with or without sources. On Capitol Hill, Democrats are casting doubt on Attorney General William Barr's summary of Mueller's approximately 400-page report. Jerry Nadler, chair of the House Judiciary Committee, told CBS on Sunday that trust should not be placed in Barr's 4-page summary of the report because the AG is biased. Many Democrats and legal observers consider Barr as the wrong person for the job, as almost a year before the special counsel had completed its investigation, Barr wrote a memo in which he said Trump had committed no obstruction of justice and that Mueller's probe was fatally misconceived. Fighting between rival forces is raging on the outskirts of the Libyan capital. Thousands of refugees and migrants are locked up in shelters inside Tripoli after a military assault on the city by the Eastern Libyan military commander Khalifa Haftar took place on Sunday. The attack caused around 30 deaths and nearly 90 injuries. The United Nations is urging forces to declare a 2-hour truce to evacuate civilians, but Haftar's Libyan National Army appears intent on continuing the battle as fears rise the country could be plunged into civil war. Facebook, the world's largest social media network with over 2 billion users globally, is once again coming under fire for losing control of its users' information. Kim Yoo-sun tells us more.
Cybersecurity company UpGuard has found more than 540 million records of Facebook users' personal information have been leaked in recent months. It confirmed the leak of a 146 gigabyte set with information like Facebook user activity, account names, and IDs. The dataset was leaked to a media company based in Mexico. The security firm said the leaked datasets were publicly available on Amazon-owned servers. UpGuard also revealed that passwords for 22,000 users were openly exposed on the internet. Although Facebook claims it has removed relevant user data contained on such public servers, experts continue to raise concerns that such an incident proves the company has been sharing user data with third parties. This is not the first time flaws have been found within Facebook's management of personal information. It was found last month that Facebook has stored passwords belonging to 600 million users in plain text since 2012, exposing them for years to anyone who had internal access to the files. While Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has called for stronger privacy protection, criticism against the company continues to amplify as similar leaks keep being uncovered. Kim Yoo-sun, Arirang News.
Tens of thousands of people took to the street across Switzerland over the weekend to demonstrate against climate change. According to several local media outlets, a total of 50,000 people marched, including 15,000 in Zurich and 9,000 each in the capital Bern and in Lausanne. The marches were organized by a number of activist groups, including Greenpeace and Swiss Youth for Climate. The protest was in part inspired by teenage Swedish activist Greta Thunberg, who began weekly school strikes calling for policy changes on the climate issue. A painting by a 2-year-old artist has been sold for $1,500 at one of her 2 art shows. Lola June needs help to get her canvas ready and then uses a paintbrush that's taller than her to paint. It was her mother's friend, who is a curator, who found her work inspiring and decided to open 2 shows that exhibited 40 of Lola's artworks, of which 32 were sold. The curator says Lola is a free spirit, making art without being worried about the art world or what the world is saying.
Time now for our Life and Info segment, where we focus on information useful for your everyday life, whether you are in Korea or somewhere else watching us around the world. Today, we're going to turn our focus to Korean food, namely tteokbokki. It is the sweet and spicy rice cake dish that's really been exploding in popularity worldwide, especially in Southeast Asia. However, exporting rice cakes has been difficult due to their 1-month-long shelf life. Now, Korean researchers have found a way to extend that shelf life of these rice cakes to 8 months at room temperature. And this, as you'd expect, is likely to pave the way for more rice cake exports for people around the world to enjoy their tteokbokki. Our Park Se-young with more.
Korean rice cakes or tteok are made using steamed rice flour. The steamed flour is pounded to make rice cakes, which are then used to make the spicy rice cake dish called tteokbokki. The plain white rice cakes can be stored for about a month in cold storage and tend to go bad within days at room temperature.
Distributing tteok at room temperature is expected to cut distribution costs compared to cold storage and promote consumption.
The Rural Development Administration and Gangwon National University developed the technology to extend the shelf life of rice cakes to up to 8 months at room temperature. First, the researchers used dry rice flour instead of steamed rice flour to reduce microbial contamination. Then, organic acids were added to lengthen shelf life.
By adding complex organic acids to the water, we were able to optimize the pH level, concentration, and immersion time.
Lastly, the rice cakes were sterilized to block contamination during distribution. Most importantly, the method had limited impact on the overall taste and texture of the product. Nearly $60 million of these plain rice cakes were exported in 2018, with almost $7 million of exports going to Southeast Asia. The researchers expect the rice cakes with extended shelf life to lead to more exports and make rice cake-based dishes like tteokbokki more accessible around the world. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Now, from tteokbokki to smartphones. The warranty on smartphones here in South Korea is going to be doubled to 2 years starting next year, following changes to the Fair Trade Commission standard for consumer dispute guidelines. The warranty period for devices sold from 2020 will be raised from the current 1 year. The 1-year warranty on smartphone batteries will stay the same, though, as they are considered consumable parts. While the guidelines will not be legally enforced, the industry has promised to comply, and the corporate watchdog has reportedly finished negotiations with Apple as well. The new regulations have also set a standard on the warranty period for tablet PCs. For the first time, they will be covered under warranty for 1 year, with parts in stock for 4 years. Now, South Korea's national health insurance will offer partial coverage of the cost of Chuna chiropractic therapy from today. Patients will be able to receive the treatment that corrects spinal disorders by manually pushing and pulling the body parts at costs ranging from $9 to $25 US. That's much lower than the conventional cost, which could run up to $180. To prevent overdiagnosis, though, patients are eligible to receive up to 20 of these Chuna procedures a year with the insurance, while a single doctor is limited to offering Chuna therapy at this reduced cost to a maximum of 18 patients a day. Foreigners as well residing in Korea will be able to make use of this therapy at reduced cost if they have enrolled in the National Health Insurance Scheme. Now, those of you watching us in South Korea or those who have visited in the past will know that the country is one of the best places in the world to experience the past and present at the very same time, often in the same area. Think of age-old houses hidden behind rows and rows of the most modern skyscrapers you're likely to see anywhere around the globe. There are also countless nature spots throughout the country offering a little bit of something for everyone. So this year's Korea Travel Expo is looking to help foreign visitors pick and choose from the many destinations there are here in South Korea to check out. Our Won Jung-hwan reports.
At the annual Korea Travel Expo, range of tourist options are on display for visitors looking for short getaways around the country. From information on how to get there and where to eat, the exhibition is there to help travelers fully enjoy hidden attractions in every nook and cranny of Korea. Adding a fun twist to the 16th edition of the expo is a special group of people wearing traditional Korean clothing, hanbok, buzzing around the hall to tell visitors how beautiful it is to travel in South Korea.
Foreigners, we come to Korea and we can see like unseen places. We can see that something Koreans can't see in their everyday life. So we can show like something unusual for Koreans or foreigners too. Maybe this is our purpose here.
During the 4-day event, nearly 250 foreign students from 50 countries are acting as travel advisors for foreign visitors, and even for the locals. While being able to speak Korean is a given, their main goal is to inform visitors where and how they can travel and give tips from their past travel experiences. And the foreign visitors loved it.
We really appreciate the diversity and inclusivity that we experience here in the convention, and actually it's a new thing for us because normally you'd thought that you would be you'd be introduced to a country by a local, but this is an altogether experience for us, right?
It's actually more compelling and heartwarming to see that different people from different nations are supporting each other for their for their tourism business, to thrive. It's something that I've actually never seen before in other countries, so it's really amazing.
As well as helping visitors at the exhibition hall, these foreign students are also promoting the destinations to a wider audience by posting photos and videos on their social media.
Students who like taking photos and videos are perfect for this role as they can share their stories through their own social media platforms and inform their friends about how beautiful it is to travel to South Korea. While the Korea Travel Expo runs until Sunday at COEX in southern Seoul, these global tour supporters will continue promoting every nook and cranny of Korea's hidden attractions to the world. Won Jung-hwan, Arirang News.
Good morning. Seoul saw its highest temperatures of the season yesterday afternoon, but temperatures will gradually go down. Then welcome showers tomorrow evening will make it even cooler. So brace yourselves for a roller coaster temperatures again this week. Meanwhile, dry weather continues with alerts in place for most parts of the country, including here in the capital. Eastern areas continue to be under dry weather warning, but rain this week should relieve the dryness in the air. For today, big temperature gaps of nearly 10 degrees between the lows and highs are expected for most parts of the country, but it should be under mostly sunny skies with decent air quality for most areas. So a nice day to go for an afternoon stroll to enjoy the spring cherry blossoms. Afternoon highs will rise a few degrees higher than yesterday for upper areas, but southern provinces will be slightly cooler, ranging between 17 to 21 degrees Celsius across much of the country. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Monday morning here in Seoul. Stay tuned to Arirang TV, and a reminder, as I normally give you, that our next newscast is coming up at noon Korea time with our very own Lee Ji-yoon. That's in around 90 minutes from now. So until then, goodbye.